Welcome to Engineer Versus. This episode is how to buy a computer. Being an engineer, we're maybe closer to the geek nerd side of things, and thus people ask us a lot of computer questions. So we're going to walk through the computer components, all the extras that go with it, and then we're going to take a look at a couple websites. So first off, what's inside the box? You're going to have a hard drive. Hard drive is basically like your file cabinet. How much can you store on that particular computer? Your memory is more or less like your desk. How much can you have open at the same time? How many folders can you look at? And basically for a computer this means how many programs can you operate at the same time, or how big of programs can you operate? Can you have video software up while you're watching a video and doing graphics processing at the same time? Those kinds of things, as well as having your email open and so on. Your CPU is your central processing unit, that's your processor, and the larger this is, basically the more that you can process or churn through. Your motherboard is where everything's going to be connected here, and that's basically going to be integral with, typically with the processor. Your power supply is also going to be integral with everything, but you want to make sure that wherever you're getting from, whatever manufacturer you get it from, if they're using a renowned power supplier. You don't want to get something where a knockoff or some sort of power supply takes a little bit of a glitch and goes offline, and it can fry the motherboard, processor, etc. In other words, it'll ruin your machine. Your case is simply the box that it's in. So for a laptop, that becomes very important. But you're also going to have a fan. Most of the computers that we have these days are air-cooled, so you're going to have a fan that's integral with all these other components inside the box. More on components, well, you're going to have choices whenever you're talking about this. Choices between desktop, laptop, tablet, and all-in-ones. These are starting to blend, so people love the desktops because you can fit way more memory, you can fit way more devices, etc. on a desktop. A laptop is basically, how do we get this desktop to be portable? So everything's slimmed down, plus you add a battery on top of it. A tablet is essentially a slimmed down laptop, right? I mean, everyone knows what tablets are doing, but you don't have the connections, you don't necessarily have the operating power that you have with the laptop or desktop for that matter. But it's very portable. You can touch it, use it. It tells you what you need to use, so you might be able to just use it for email and so on. If that works for you, if all you're needing is an email and internet machine, tablet might be your choice. An all-in-one is going to be something where you have all the touch capability of a tablet, but then you have all the connection and power that goes behind a desktop as well. So you might mount this on a wall, or at home you might want to put it in a public area and then run videos on it, do processing, but you can also do work capabilities on the all-in-one as well that you might not be able to do so much with a tablet, or not as easily. So what else you might want to consider: sound card and audio connections. If you're going to be running this to, say, a DJ or, say, a sound system, you might want to think about that as well. Wireless and wired connections for networking. If you have a wireless network, how's it going to tie in? Is it going to be easy? Usually wireless is pretty easy these days. Do you need a CD, DVD, Blu-ray reader and burner? Oftentimes people forget about that, oh, I should have gotten that on this computer. I need to get something external because I forgot. Well, if you have one integral, it's pretty typical for a laptop and desktop these days. It's something to think about. Camera, we're talking about web cameras being integral to the machine, so that might be something that you want to get with it as well. USB connections. On a laptop, typically you're getting 2 to 4 USB connections, sometimes more. Desktop, you're usually at 6 to 8 USB connections these days. And then high definition connection. If you're going to be doing video, if you're going to be displaying on a projector or TV, you might want to get a high definition connection so you can do 1080p quality video on the output. Alright. Externals. Are you going to be operating this with a separate keyboard, mouse, game controller, or do you need to have something integral with it, such as a laptop? Do you need a monitor to go with it? Do you need a printer, other items that go with it, speakers, headsets, all these considerations? If you already have these components, how do we connect them with the machine that you're going to get? And then more on the externals, an external hard drive if you're moving big files that you don't want to share on the internet. Flash drive, same deal there, but say smaller smaller where you don't need to have the large capacity. A lot of these are coming down in price, so you can really pick up something that's easy to get for your use, say do some storage and protection of, say, vital pictures. Scanner, you might get this as part of an integral with a printer, so you might want to think about how you're doing your scanning into PDFs or whatever it might be. Power protection is essentially a surge protection. So if you're going to be buying a new computer and you want to protect it from, say, a power or storm hit, storm rolls through and hits your power and makes it flash, 6 times inside of, say, 5 minutes, your surge protector is going to protect that power supply. If you have a weaker power supply, it might be kind of fragile, but your surge protector will protect against that. Your UPS is your uninterruptible power supply, and your UPS is going to essentially mean that if you do take power hits or whatever, you're going to be able to operate continuously for several minutes. So it might be a good time to save. If you're doing video software, that kind of thing, it might be good to have this and still be able to operate. If you're getting a laptop, typically you have a UPS anyway. It's called the battery. So if you take a power hit and the only thing glowing in the room is you and your laptop, that's why. So else on the machine is software. Think about the operating system that you're comfortable using. If you're comfortable with Apple, I'd say just go to the Apple site. You're not going to find many deals anywhere else. And be prepared to be shocked with sticker prices there. But whether you have Apple or not, you're going to need antivirus and security. Apple and their operating system is much more vulnerable than any other operating system these days because they haven't had the patch security that the other systems have. But either way, you're going to want these two to just operate, and then the antivirus security you're going to also want to operate, but have it with a service that's going to be constantly updating and sending out patches so that you can patch your operating system and then update your antivirus. So if something new comes out, you can catch it before it hits you, okay? Also, backup software. So if you have something that you want to back up to an external drive, maybe you want to have it do it automatically with a piece of software, or backup online. You might want to think about that as well. And then you want to think about what the machine's going to be doing. Is it just a web browser where a tablet is fine? Maybe a tablet and keyboard would work for some email. But if you're going to be doing, say, some heavy-duty office stuff, presentations and such, you might want to get something a little bit beefier. You might want to look at all the components that are going to be servicing that. And then if you have, I just put up Microsoft and Adobe here, but if you're going to have something that deals with graphics as well, Illustrator, Photoshop, those kinds of things, you might want to think about having more memory and more capacity to the machine as well. So that's a lot of the components. Let's go over to a website. Now I go to HP.com because they know and have been doing computers for decades. So they have laptops, tablets, and desktops, and they know that the three are blending for the most part. So they're going to help you do different things with them. So if you go over to the desktop, you might want to look at this, and they know, okay, here's a gaming laptop. It needs speed and power now. If you have a high performance where, say, you might want to do some processing of some video or that kind of thing where you can set it and it can work for an hour, 2, 3, overnight, whatever it needs to do, that might be more along the lines of what you need. And then the everyday is just kind of, okay, here's something that's going to churn through. Maybe this works for your everyday computing. But they also know the gaming industry, and they know laptops as well as tablets and how they're blending. So what we're going to do is just build this gaming laptop. And what HP did is they bought out some small gaming laptop and desktop companies, and they kept all that knowledge that went with that, and they're using and leveraging all that knowledge to build better machines for themselves. They came out with this recently here. Now, if you head over to a place like Newegg here, you can get overwhelmed easily, and that's where a lot of people, I think, ask me questions like, oh, I went over to Newegg like you said, like your suggestion. I went over there and I looked at all these laptops, portable systems, and I went to gaming laptops because I'm going to be getting something for my nephew, whatever it may be. And I looked at all these things, and all these gaming laptops showed up, and you can see the prices are pretty wide-ranging. How do I know what is going on there? Well, the HP site I'm going to walk through if you click the shop now, you're going to be able to customize and then buy the machine that you want to get. So it's taking a moment to come up. And in this moment, I'll mention if you're not doing gaming or anything like that, you might want to review the Surface. Microsoft Surface Pro 3 is out recently. Granted that this industry changes, but this is going to get you the compute power that you're going to need with a tablet, and you can see it has the pen there, and you can look at different views of it, but you're limited on your choices here. See, it has the 64 gigs. You might want to bump up to the 512 gigs. So it says basically replacing your laptop. And essentially that's what it's doing. And you can see that the price here jumped up to $1,950, basically $2,000 from $800. And that's based on these two things. The hard drive is 512 instead of 64. With 64, you're not saving too much on here. You're putting everything up on the internet, or on the cloud, or on an external hard drive, that kind of thing. The 512, you have a lot more space to work with to save things. So if you're doing some production, those kinds of things, I would definitely suggest the Surface Pro. You might want to look into that, and it might be a better deal than getting a separate laptop. And not only that, it's pretty portable. So take a good look at that as well. All right, back to this gaming laptop. They give us a few options. What I'm going to do is just say, you know what? I'm going to just customize one of these guys and buy it. The nice thing about HP, say versus Dell or another competitor, is HP will know the configurations, and before it leaves to get to you, they will test it. So this isn't something where it's just, they put it together, they know the configuration, and they're just going to have somebody build it and ship it straight to you like other sites do. HP will actually run it and test it for you. They know the reputation that they have, they got to protect it. So they want to make sure that they're doing a good job with everything. So before it leaves their door, they make sure and test it first. So that means that they're looking through all these different components, and we're going to look through that. Okay, we're getting Windows 8.1 here. We have the graphics. Okay, we're going to go with the high-end graphics here. And you can see what they have is they say the processor and graphics are going to be working together. Yes, they are. So they have an NVIDIA here. If you want to get into graphics, that's a separate discussion completely. But you can see here it's only for the 16 gig memory. So what I need to do is the display is going to be the same, and I'm going to bump up this memory. It's an extra $200. I say, you know what, that's worth it. I'm not only going to be gaming on this or doing other things, I'm going to be doing video production as well, and say other processing and clipping and so on. And I'm going to need something a little high-end on the memory as well. On top of that, I want to have a little bit more storage so I can keep a lot more stuff on my computer before having to move it around or figuring out how to archive it. They have some software choices here, some security software, absolutely, I would suggest. Theft protection, not this time. They have battery, external, etc. And then you can go through and say, you know what? All right, what's my total price? $2,200. Okay, so $2,200. Let's look at something similar. And say the $2,200 is maybe a little pricey for you, and you want to definitely keep it under $2,000. Well, let's look at these two and say, okay, these two, what we have here is an NVIDIA GeForce 680M. It's the same graphics. And we have 16 gigs of memory, bigger hard drive though. Let's look at this guy, see if it gets us a better deal. And you can start to walk through the same things, same screen size, Windows 8.1, it's 4 pounds, they have some of the other things. And you can start to ask like some questions here, as well as other sites that are similar to Newegg, and they'll help you out. You can see that the processor here is a 2.5. You can go back here and say, okay, over here what we had is the 4710. All right, so the processor, we're going to get the guarantee behind HP and so on. It's going to be easier to work with HP typically. So those are your choices that you're walking through as well. The last thing I want to touch on is Apple. If you're walking through and getting an Apple, just go ahead and do it. The thing that you are going to be lacking though is a lot of USB ports and a lot of connections that you can see here. So the Apple itself is its own little animal, and if you're a dedicated Mac fan, you're definitely going to be going here anyway. Just pay top dollar to get the new as opposed to getting refurbished. All right, that's what I have today based on buying a new computer. Thank you.